all the participants at today's webinar to be active and post the questions in using the chat function. Like the Director General of the Minister of Environment of Estonia also said, that Estonia has been accredited to the UNEP, United Nations Environment Programme, since 2017, but since this March we are present in Nairobi at the headquarters of UN Environment Programme, and which is the only UN headquarters in Global South. And African countries, Kenya especially, they are very proud of this, and all the other countries and member states to the UNEP, they are supporting and also seeing the great value to the location of UNEP here in Nairobi. I will go and introduce give you a very brief overview of the UNEP. I'm not going into deep dive, and if you are interested to receive further details, then please contact with me, and I can very much share with you. As our Director General said, I am the permanent representative currently and representing Estonia to UNEP, and besides the multilateral cooperation, I'm also trying to facilitate development cooperation and the business diplomacy as much as possible, and as much there will be interest from the Estonian side. So I'm happy to share the context and, of course, initiate the collaboration. So, but let me very briefly, and you can see from the slides that what is the UNEP? UN Environment Programme. It has been established from 1972, and it is the global leading authority that sets the global environmental agenda and promotes implementation. They are strengthening definitely the science policy interface, but they are also very much focusing on capacity building at the national level. UNEP currently is working in 7 thematic areas, including climate change, ecosystem management, environmental governance, chemicals and waste, resource efficiency, environment under review, which means monitoring and environmental data improvement, and disasters and conflicts. And every 2 years, UNEP governing body is gathering the UN Environment Assembly. The last session, the 4th session from 2017 and 2019, Estonia was the presidency for the assembly, and the president, Mr. Siim Kiisler, the former Estonian Minister of Environment. And the current session of the UNEA, Estonia is holding the vice president role and then supporting very much the governance towards the assembly. Like I said, the UNEP is currently very much focusing on strengthening the science policy interface, but also strengthening the private sector engagement. As majority today, I see from the audience are the private sector. I will go into further details how the UNEP is foreseeing the strengthening the engagement. A little bit facts also, the funding to the organization, 95% of the UNEP's funding is dependent on the voluntary contributions. And let me also a little bit explain the difference of environment fund and the earmarked funds. In environment funds, the member states, this money is going directly to the core functions of the UNEP. Earmarked funds, which is the majority of the UNEP's income. You can see almost 800 million for 2 years. The member states are channeling and earmarking the projects through the UNEP. So this is one opportunity, also engaging the private sector in doing and supporting the development cooperation, but also reaching out to the third countries through the environment programs. For before mentioned 7 thematic areas. this is very much dependent on the government's will to channel and program in collaboration, either bilaterally, trilaterally, or with some member states, but also can be also sent directly to UNEP, and UNEP is managing this accordingly. What are the opportunities to engage private sector through UNEP? There are Sustainable Innovation Expo organized at the UN Environment Assemblies, and during the last assembly last spring, 3 Estonian companies were also present: Timbeter Oy, Ausdesign Oy, and the Environment Research Center. And if there are somebody in the audience from these companies, maybe they can share how it was, whether it was useful, and whether it also helped them to make the contacts and some collaboration to start. Then the platform which the UNEP is governing, the UN Science Policy Business Forum, it's also, like the title is saying, it's integrating science, policy, and business actors. But mainly there are scientists and the business. And it's also it's open for everyone who is willing to be part of the discussions on innovation, on data management, and on new greener clean tech technologies implementation. Other forums, multi-stakeholder forums, private sector also can be, and also the scientists can be part of the different multi-stakeholder fora and being part of the discussions held in UN. Direct partnerships bilaterally with UNEP or sponsorship to UNEP opportunities, but UNEP is also very much willing to support private sector engagement in different alliances. Again, it's the opportunity for private sector to reach out, to set the same goals, to achieve the same goals, to improve the environment, but also to improve the collaboration. Besides the UNEP work, where I'm let's see. I'm also, Estonia is also, we don't have an embassy in Kenya, but through the permanent representative to UNEP, we have been also, we are part of the Team Europe membership. It means that the European Union member states who are present in Nairobi, there are jointly discussions and meetings on how to enhance the development cooperation. Estonia has also showed the interest to be part of the ICT development partners collaboration working group. Encouraging the collaboration between EU member states here in Nairobi in Kenya also allows us to increase our positive footprint and increase the partnerships and collaboration. So it was a very swift overview give you the overview for the UNEP, and also very briefly to give the overview what I am especially doing here. But of course, I'm not alone here in Kenya. Estonia has the Honorable Consul, Mrs. Kadri Umal Ayal, who has been here Honorable Consul last 11 years. And many of you, of course, know her. And also I encourage that both me and Kadri are very interested to get your emails and your interest to reach out to some of the Kenyan actors. So let's move on to our, if there are questions, again, I encourage you to let me know using the chat function. But let's move on and have joined to our meeting also colleagues from the Kenyan National Environment Management Authority, Mr. Obadiah Mungai and Dr. Catherine Mbaisi. So the colleagues from the National Environment Management Authority, Obadiah, if you hear me, the floor is yours to give us a brief overview on the challenges and opportunities to increase the green growth.
Everyone, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. You can continue.
Okay. So as Mr. Ado has introduced me, my name is Obadiah Mungai from the National Environment and Management Authority in Kenya, which is a government agency created by an act of parliament with a mandate to coordinate and supervise all environmental matters in the country, as well as to implement environmental policies on behalf of government. So here in Kenya, we call it semi-autonomous agency under the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, which is our mother ministry. And we were established as a principal instrument of government charged with the implementation of all policies relating to environment and to exercise general supervision and coordination over all matters relating to the environment, and of course in consultation with other lead agencies in the environment sector. So we have developed regulations, measures, and standards, and issued guidelines for the management and conservation of natural resources for environment, basically defining who NEMA, in short form, is in Kenya. Maybe also to just give a small background on environmental management and the green economy and the green growth in Kenya. Maybe, as you may be aware, we have a devolved system of government now in place in Kenya. And one of the key focus areas for NEMA include devolved environmental management, with a special emphasis on the interface with what we call our county governments, the business sector engagement in the green growth, and then strengthening of the environmental assessment process. So a number of functions that used to be handled at the national government now are devolved, and these include the county or the health services, including solid waste management, control of air pollution, noise pollution, county level planning and implementation of the specific national government policies in the touching on natural resources and environmental conservation that include soil and water conservation and forestry. So our mandate as NEMA has been expanded to include capacity building of counties to undertake these functions. So that's sort of a background, a precursor. Now, we in Kenya have what we call our strategy, which is in full name, it's the Green Economy Strategy and Implementation Plan, guiding the implementation plan from 2016 to 2030. It was published in 2016 by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and it's sort of a guiding document as far as green economy, rather green growth is concerned. So one of the things it cites is that 42% of Kenya's GDP and 70% of the overall employment is derived from natural resources related sectors: agriculture, mining, tourism, forestry, fishing, all of them which are highly vulnerable to different shocks. Now, so there has been initiatives adopted by the government to address these vulnerabilities and it's an ongoing process by various ministries who are, or various organs, government organs who are looking at mainstreaming this plan into their development plans. And Kenyan government continues to reaffirm its commitments towards green economy as evidenced under the various conventions, including the climate change, just to mention one, and even the biodiversity convention, just to mention a few. So, so it helps us. The plan helps us contribute the implementation of some of these conventions and agreements, including the Paris Agreement on climate change. So, for an in-depth look at what Kenya has purposed to do, and even maybe for now the private sector engagement, the green economy, the green economy strategy and implementation plan is the key documents, among others, that one would look at to see how Kenya plans to grow the economy. Now, the strategy points to resource efficiency, low carbon emission pathway, and also increased economic performance. Now, so then how has NEMA, how is NEMA interfacing with the green economy strategy? And then I'll come to the opportunities and the challenges. Now, we at NEMA acknowledge that green growth and the green economy are only possible if the environment can continue to provide the ecosystem goods and services such as clean water and air, as well as other natural resources. So therefore, this can only be guaranteed with the right environmental management settings, which includes a wide array of approaches. And based on that, based on this mandate of regulating, based on a mandate that NEMA has of regulating development projects in the various sectors, including manufacturing, building, and construction, as well as monitoring their operations or the implementation so that they don't adversely affect the environment, NEMA has developed a number of instruments, including relevant environment and related regulations. We have guidelines on how strategic environmental assessment. We have guidelines, general guidelines on environment. We have standards. We have education and awareness programs. We have voluntary compliance schemes. And we have licenses, permits, as well as means of enforcing compliance with these standards. And obviously the outreach programs that we also undertake to the various stakeholders to educate them or to sensitize or create awareness on all this. So this is what NEMA is doing and how NEMA supports the green growth and the green economy. So we, maybe having said that, we have achieved a number of successes. Generally, the environment sector is now more aware. There is more awareness in the environment sector in the various facets. In the various facets of the environment, there is more now. I mean, the environment still there are challenges, but we find some wins, and there's of course the private sector now supporting the shift towards a green growth and a green economy pathway. Now, maybe just also to mention, and maybe that's why maybe I thought I would speak to this also. We have programs, and one of the programs is a program on green growth and employment program funded by the Danish government. Has been there since 2015 to 2020. And its focus is on greening Kenya's development pathway. So it's quite relevant to just speak about it. And it has 4 areas. It's looking at enhancing the capacities of counties to undertake the devolved environmental functions. It's looking at reduced environmental crimes. Then it looks at how these environmental functions can be mainstreamed in the ministries, departments, and agencies. And finally, it looks at the enhanced private sector adoption of green technologies and practices through, among others, private-public participation. So one key element of this program that has been of great support to NEMA is that on enhanced private sector adoption of green technologies. So we have successes of this program as it comes to an end, and we have cases where private sector have now adopted cleaner technologies, and now we are looking at how do we have these models cascaded upwards and sustained. So another area has been an area on setting up innovation centers as links between the community and the technology or the private sector. And we have also set up what we call green points in the various counties, which act as epicenters for demonstrating innovations, including eco-friendly constructions, wastewater recycling, energy saving and solar application, rainwater harvesting, solid waste reduction, footprinting. That's what this setup are helping us achieve. Another case of us trying to enforce a green growth trajectory has been a recent ban on plastics, the single-use plastics. Not quite recent, it happened in 2016. And this has seen a reduction of plastic waste, plastic solid waste in the environment, and has also helped innovations in packaging come up. Yeah, so those are just some of the things I would mention that may be relevant to the green economy and the green growth trajectory. Now, having said that, we still have challenges, and tied to these challenges are opportunities as I come to the end of my brief presentation. And the starting points of the general challenges are well captured in the green growth, green economy strategy and implementation plan. They are quite elaborate, and the challenges that have been highlighted in that document include inadequate compliance and weak enforcement of laws and regulations across sectors. We have another challenge cited there as inadequate information about these green technologies. Another challenge cited there is in the lack of a detailed integration of the natural capital to the economic growth calculation. Another, of course, obvious challenge that has been cited is financing. Inadequate financing to help transition to a green economy. And also maybe the support to emerging innovations in terms of incentives, financial or otherwise, are also weak. That has been cited. So another area that has been cited to be a challenge is gaps in human capacity and skills in some aspects of the green economy across the various thematic areas. Yeah, so those are some of the challenges that have been cited. The document probably I could just point to it or share with Ado after this, or it's even available online for in the ministry's website. And so as those are general challenges that have been cited that are relevant. And now, when you look at now a smaller role on NEMA's space, what we have experienced as an agency is that with the population increasing quickly over the last maybe 20, 30 years, environmental related challenges have continued to grow. And this has led to greater demands on the resources and the unfortunate brown trajectory of economic growth in the industry. And therefore, NEMA is now still, NEMA is still striving and struggling on how, to spur green technology and voluntary compliance. And I've just mentioned some of the areas we are looking at. I think I would mention that industry still presents the greatest challenge, notably in water, air, and solid waste pollution. But on the other hand, then the industry or the private sector has also expressed willingness to cooperate. And we are trying some models to see how private sector, we are trying to partner with the private sector to see how these models can be maybe piloted and later on cascaded upwards. An example is the PET bottle, which we are piloting so that we see how that the recycling happens. I think this area of devolution of environmental functions have also been a bit slow. The counties have not had adequate capacity, and we are looking at how do we get to strengthen the capacity to get actions by the counties. I think also we are also, as I've said, the incidents, environmental incidents, and we are also looking at how do we increase our capacity in the rapid, for example, the rapid environmental response, so that we don't have these emergencies affecting the. So challenges which we are still experiencing, financial. I've not mentioned the financial bit, and all these challenges are geared, or rather, one can flip them and see them as opportunities. Maybe just to conclude is to mention that if you look at again at the Green Economy Strategy and Implementation Plan, it has identified 5 thematic areas. This includes sustainable infrastructure, building resilience, sustainable natural resource management, promoting resources efficiency, and finally social inclusion and sustainable livelihoods. And all these thematic areas have opportunities for both the private sector and non-private sector to play their role and to participate. So it would be good also to have a look at the opportunities serialized in the GESIP. So maybe I could stop there, and I hope I have captured what was expected of me. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Obadiah, for this very comprehensive overview, and we are happy to share the documents, which you can also directly send to me, but I have seen it from the Ministry of Environment website, so we can share it with the colleagues and participants from Estonia to get the further details. So I encourage, if there are questions to Mr. Obadiah regarding the National Environment Management Authority in Kenya, their actions and the highlighted challenges, please let us know in the chat function, please, and we will continue with the next speaker, but you have maybe time to digest the information, what you just heard, and post the questions, so we can, after all representatives' presentations, we can then collect some questions. If there are some immediate one, please let us know. I cannot see. So let's move on. And the next speaker is coming from the European Investment Bank, Ms. Catherine Collin, who is the head of the regional representation East Africa of European Investment Bank. And Catherine will give us an overview on the green growth support measures from the European Investment Bank here in Africa. Catherine, I can see you. I hope you hear me. And good morning and welcome. And thank you for coming and joining to our webinar.
Thank you very much, Ado. Good morning to you, and good morning also to all the participants. So as Ado mentioned, I'm representing the European Investment Bank here in Kenya. And I'm always very happy to be able to give an idea of what our activities are here in Kenya to companies of our member states. Estonia is one of our shareholders, so I'm very happy to do this presentation today. So I'm now going to try and share my screen. I will have to tell me if you can see my presentation.
Currently, we can't see.
You can't.
We can't. We can't see it currently. Yes.
Ah, okay. Attends now. What about now?
Yes. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So I will start with a kind of a refresh about who the European Investment Bank is, because I realize very often that this is somehow needed. So the European Investment Bank is the bank of the European Union. We are owned by the 27 EU member states of the European Union, including Estonia, of course. EIB has been in existence since 1958. So as long as the European Union has been in existence, and we've been active outside the European Union since 1963. And actually we started in Africa at the time under the so-called Yaoundé and then Lomé Convention. So nowadays EIB operates in over 163 countries around the world, with about 10% of its lending going to projects outside the EU. And I realized that I forgot to update the figure for 2018, but and put the figure for 2019. But the figure was around I think it was 7 billion euros. So it remains a substantial part of our activities. So EIB is the largest multilateral lender and borrower. So we raise our funds on the international capital markets, and because we are a AAA rated agency, we are able to pass on these favorable borrowing conditions to our clients. Every year we finance about 450 projects around the world. Headquarters is in Luxembourg. We have 45 local offices around the world. Nairobi, I think, is the second office that was opened outside the European Union back in 2005. And we have about 3,500 staff working essentially at headquarters with a mix of finance people, engineers, sector specialists, and social environmental experts, and which is a bit the mix of staff that you will find here in Nairobi, which is one of the largest offices. So the way we operate here, and I'll get closer to what we are doing here in the so-called Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific, is the mandate under which we operate. So that's the so-called Cotonou Partnership Agreement, which gives a number of priorities and objectives in terms of what we should be supporting. The underlying factor being, of course, that EIB supports the European Union policies outside the EU as much as we do inside the EU. So SDG, climate action, very important, resilience, and to a certain extent, European economic diplomacy, which is, of course, more, the topic here today, are underlying our activities. The purpose being, of course, to support sustainable economic development, Gender is a cross-cutting preoccupation for the bank, and it has been reinforced over the last couple of years with a proper gender policy. And then I think what's important to see is that we can support both private sector, but we can also support vital infrastructure, and that will be more through public sector type of lending. So, I mean, it's a bit of both, some kind of IDA type of intervention and then IFC type of intervention that we are doing. So you can see here, small and medium enterprise, corporates, project finance, various sector. It gives you an overview of the type of interventions that we are doing. And I think this one shows you that we have quite a comprehensive product offering. So we are, of course, doing some traditional plain vanilla public sector sovereign lending to the government of Kenya. If we look at usually go to vital infrastructure, be it in the energy, transport, or water and sanitation sector, but other sectors are of course eligible as well. And then we have more private sector type of intervention. A lot of it here in Kenya at least is done through lines of credit to commercial banks that are operating here in Kenya and the region. And these lines of credit are deemed to support small and medium enterprise as well as micro enterprises. So that is what we call the intermediated lending, which is important to reach out to smaller type of ventures that we couldn't reach out with our direct loan. We are also invested in a number of equity and funds. And actually it's quite active here in Kenya, because Nairobi happens to be the hub in East Africa of a large number of investment funds that are extremely active. And I have become a fan of the equity type of investment since I came here in Kenya, because I was able to observe how important it is to develop the enterprises and the entrepreneurship in the countries. And going through funds allows us to reach out to also those smaller ventures that would normally struggle a bit with this type of investments, but that desperately need this kind of risk intervention at a very early stage in their venture. So we also do project finance type of transaction where we take a direct risk on the project itself. And we have one of our largest exposure here in Kenya, which is the Lake Turkana wind farm project. I'll speak about it a bit later. And of course, we work in very close collaboration with the European Union. Actually, we are co-located with the European Union here in Nairobi. So we are in the same building on Wayaki Way here in Nairobi. So these are the various pillars of our action. So as I said, climate finance, renewable energy, and energy efficiency are extremely present in our portfolio. And actually here, this region in Kenya in particular is even stronger. We have also these innovative financing solution. I mean, we have developed, as you know, EIB is the pioneer in climate awareness bond, and now we are working as well. We've launched our first sustainability awareness bonds, whereby the proceed of our bond emissions is used for specific projects supporting the achievement of the SDG. As I said earlier, women economic empowerment becoming quite important. We have put in place in Uganda, for instance, a neighboring country, thematic dedicated lines of credit supporting women entrepreneurship, and that's combined with technical assistance. Of course, as I said, EU priority standards and value, very underlying every single transaction that we are doing, and a strong sense of partnership as well, since we can only finance up to 50% of any given project cost, meaning that others will join in, and that's where EIB can play quite an important catalytic role in attracting other sources of investments, and now increasingly there is also the sense of partnership with philanthropists or UN agencies. I don't know, you may have seen that there was an announcement. EIB is working very closely with the WHO under the current COVID pandemic and trying to help at global level to support, help WHO in putting in place the measure and sourcing the equipment. And that is also being done in a very close partnership with the EU, because we are looking at possibly using the so-called EFSD guarantee to help in this process. Similar announcement was made recently with UNICEF. We're also working with UNOPS, and we're working very closely as with the Gates Foundation, where we have a big guarantee program on which we are working about improving health diagnosis across the sub-Saharan African continent. Kenya could be a potential beneficiary of that. So, as I said, in Kenya, we've been here since 2005. We have about a direct exposure at the moment of about 630 million euro, and with, as you see, a very high predominance of the energy sector. In the energy sector, we look at generation, transmission, and distribution, and on the generation side, we will look exclusively at the renewable energy. And I think that this is important for those. I mean, Kenya is a country that has demonstrated that they are able to kind of develop their renewable energy potential. And I think EIB is very proud of having been able to accompany and support Kenya in this venture. I mean, together, of course, with the EU, not only through grant, but also with other development finance institutions of the European Union. As I mentioned earlier, if you come to Kenya, one place to go is certainly to go to Lake Turkana, which is not only an amazingly beautiful place, but which on top of it has the largest wind farm in sub-Saharan Africa. It's a real flagship because that is a fully private sector driven project, which of course rests on a very strong partnership with the public sector here in Kenya. And it's a 365 wind turbine sitting on the shore of Lake Turkana and producing about 315 megawatts of capacity. And depending, but I think at one stage, Lake Turkana was actually providing 17% of Kenya's daily consumption of power. So that's a very important project. It's not been an easy journey, but I think, and now we are observing, because of course the energy sector is also suffering from the impact of COVID, with the demand having dropped quite significantly by about 30%, and also of course expected difficulty for the distribution company, Kenya Power, which is the main buyer, actually the sole buyer of the power supplied by this independent power producer. Lake Turkana wind farm is one of them, but there are others as well active in the solar, and we are also supporting solar projects here in Kenya. We have quite a large solar farm that should be commissioned shortly in the west part of the country. And then another important element of the renewable energy in Kenya is the geothermal. Kenya is the number 7 worldwide in terms of exploiting its geothermal potential, and I think that's quite an impressive achievement. So as I said, the majority of the portfolio are blended projects, so whereby we get some EU grant that we mix with our loans in order to achieve a lower or a more affordable project cost for the beneficiary. And we also do that in the SME lending sphere, like with lines of credit supporting agri-value chains, very important program here in Kenya that we have put in place with the European Union as well. As I mentioned, equity funds, very important. And there you can also see how we can support through this fund innovation in the green area. and I'll give you just an example. You may have or you may not have heard of D-Light, which is quite a large. It's become quite a large provider of off-grid systems. Either small lanterns that people can use wherever they want, or a small solar system. D-Light was supported initially through one of the funds in which we were invested. It's a Novastar fund, but 2 years ago we were able to offer a direct loan of $25 million to D-Light to support their expansion. So I think that's the interesting part, where we can start indirectly through these funds, and then after that these companies can kind of mature and become eligible for a direct loan from the EIB. And I know digitization is an important topic for Estonia as well. For instance, there we are supporting a company which is broad with bands. They are laying internet cable or optical fiber cable in the region to improve the access to internet, including in rural areas of DRC, for instance. So they are based here in Nairobi, and we've given them a loan that was 2 years ago as well. And I have to say, the best reward that I could hear, at least, was when the MD of the company told me, you know, we were a startup, but thanks to your loan, now we are no longer a startup. We are a mature company, and you will help us develop. But that's, you see, the type of intervention, private intervention, that are, in my view, highly impactful and really corresponds to the needs of this region. Now, looking further, pipeline, we have looking energy. We have both on-grid and off-grid activity coming up. Health is another sector of focus, and of course with the current crisis, it's increasingly relevant. Affordable housing, we are also looking, and we've just actually our board is about to approve an investment in a specialized fund in energy efficiency building for affordable purposes that will invest and will focus on Kenya, where of course it's a big item on the agenda. Clean urban transport, I think if you haven't been to Nairobi yet, but I'm sure Ado could confirm that this is kind of obvious for anybody living in Nairobi, roads, PPP, and then also manufacturing. And then finally, I'll just mention as the last point that I mentioned support through for the small and medium enterprise, and this is what we have agreed with the government would be the focus of our COVID-19 response in Kenya. We're putting in place a fairly substantial package of about 200 million euro of lines of credit with banks. Part of it will be blended with a grant of the European Union. This is something on which we are working very closely. And as I said, close cooperation with the delegation. And I have introduced a link to a brochure that we have put together with the EU ambassador and his team here in Nairobi, which attempts to give for the private sector investor an overview of the programs, projects, schemes that are in place, supported by the EU, and that are, of course, there to help private sector in Kenya. And that includes programs supported exclusively by the EIB, but also some by the EU, and as well as other EU development finance agency that are present here in Kenya. So voila, I thank you. I'm there to answer any question you may have, and when you are able to visit Kenya and Nairobi, I'm of course there as well. Would be happy to meet anybody who's interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Catherine, and for your very informative presentation. And if you don't mind, then we would like to share your presentation also with the participants. So I see you are nodding, so we can share it. Yes. And I also see that there is one question directly for you, and regarding the geologic exploration of the raw materials, rare earth metals for renewable energy production. Do you call them also as green economy investments? And we know that in East Africa, some member states like Uganda are very rich of the raw materials. So can you answer maybe to this question?
That's a very technical question. I know that extractive industry, and I think this would fall under the extractive industry category, I mean, is in in principle eligible, but there is a very, very cautious approach of the EIB in that regard. And so that's why we have learned over the years, you know, that it's not an easy. I personally believe you cannot talk about development in Africa if you do not include extractive industry, but it comes with a number of, I would say, challenges. The main challenges being environmental impact and social impacts. And I think this is a very good example, and actually ENS, environmental and social standards, which we have very stringent standards, is the area that is most challenging to our activities in Kenya and in the region. And I was listening to the gentleman of NEMA, and we are, of course, always in contact with NEMA, but especially the environmental one is, but the social one as well. So I would say extractive industry, yes, but. I'm sorry that I can't be more positive on that one, but it's really a very clearly yes, but. And we would usually try and prefer to go there with another large financial development finance institution on board. So a bit of a cautious approach, I would say. I hope this answers the question.
Thank you. And yes, we feel the sensitivity in this matter regarding the extractive industry in Africa. And I believe that maybe you can also, we can encourage the Mr. Marek Markso, who proposed this question, that directly to contact with the EIB if there are further details to elaborate. I can't see any further question currently. Maybe you can hold and stay connected with the webinar, and maybe there will be questions. I see that there is one question to Mr. Obadiah from NEMA. So, Mr. Obadiah, I will let you to answer to this question after the two following presentations. But the question is, what have been and still are impacts of COVID-19 to the waste management sector in Kenya? It's very accurate question. And Catherine, let us call you back. There is one more question. What are the limits, investments, loan size to EIB to be invoiced directly to projects? Maybe I can let you to digest this question and let me invite the next speaker. The next speaker is coming from the Digital Odyssey, Madam Achieng Butler. Do you hear me, Achieng? She will give the overview of the digital marketing as a very important tool. If there are good solutions, what we'd like to advocate here in Kenya. So what kind of tools, how to reach to the customers, and how to encourage the business to business, but business to customers relations, and what kind of opportunities you, Madam Achieng, can offer to our good colleagues from Estonia. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ado. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect, perfect. So my name's Achieng Butler. I'm the CEO of Digital Odyssey. We're a digital marketing and consultancy firm that's headquartered here in Nairobi, Kenya, with a branch in London where my business partner is based. Now, we specialize in marketing strategy and digital marketing in Africa. We support and work with businesses and organizations that operate across Africa, as well as with businesses that are interested or want entry into Africa. We really pride ourselves on having the expertise and the experience, having worked across French-speaking and English-speaking Africa in a number of different countries, predominantly in marketing and digital marketing. So, as we offer our services, and I'll speak a little bit about our services once I talk a bit about the digital landscape in Kenya, we offer online visibility and presence. We work with organizations and businesses to drive awareness of the products or the services that they offer. And ultimately, for business in particular, we work with them to generate leads. So whether it's B2B or B2C, We pride ourselves on really being, lead, an organization or a digital marketing company that has expertise in lead generation for both B2B and B2C. So with that, maybe I'll start with some statistics. Think of 3 hours and 23 minutes. 3 hours and 23 minutes. And when you think of that, maybe that particular sort of statistic, probably a number of things come to your mind. Maybe 30 to 40% of your working day, 3 to 4 hours constitutes 30 to 40% of your working day. Or maybe you think about the time it takes to fly from Tallinn to Paris, for example. But actually, when I say 3 hours and 23 minutes, this is actually the average time that Kenyans spend on social media daily. 3 hours and 23 minutes. That's a lot of time. So let's take a step back and look at the landscape. When we talk about the digital space, Kenya, of our 53 million population, Kenya has 22.8 million internet users. So that's 43% of our population actually using the internet. Now, if you think about that, that is 17 times the size of the Estonian population. So that is a lot of people using the internet. And we've seen that internet users are actually growing. In fact, they're growing on average about 16% annually, so quite significant. And overall, in terms of time spent on internet in general, it's about 4 hours and 30 minutes. It's 4 hours and 30 minutes on internet on average daily. So it's quite interesting to see over the years how much usage or how much interaction is taking place within the internet space in Kenya, and particularly also within the social media space. Now, I'll talk a little bit about some of the most used platforms when you think about social media, because consumers here or the public here is using digital so much and using social media so much. 96% of internet users use WhatsApp. In fact, that is the leading social media and messaging platform used in Kenya. And it's very interesting. You'll find a lot of information, people get information off, other social media platforms and share on WhatsApp. Or if they've got businesses, they share information on what they're selling on WhatsApp. So WhatsApp, unsurprisingly, is a very, very strong messaging platform here. You also find 89% of Kenyans using YouTube and 87% of the Kenyan internet users using Facebook. So again, quite active. Now, one might ask, why is it important to and why am I emphasizing social media and internet usage? Number one, it's because there are so many people actually using these platforms. If you think about Facebook alone, we have 8 million Kenyans using Facebook. Instagram, you have 1.5 million Kenyans using Instagram. LinkedIn, which is more of a professional social platform, you have 2.3 million Kenyans or internet users using LinkedIn. So quite a strong indication that this is an interesting place to actually engage when you're talking to customers or even potentially looking to engage with businesses. Now, as we think about the digital landscape, what's interesting about the social space is that the social space is actually the shop front. And my business partner and I often have very interesting discussions about how different it is, between like the UK and a place like Kenya, because a lot of people here may not necessarily have websites. And when you think SMEs, they may not necessarily have websites, but they will actually use social media platforms as the shop front. So they will showcase their products on an Instagram, which is very visual, or they'll showcase on Facebook and actually put a phone number or an email that you can contact them and actually place your order and have deliveries done to your door or to your office, pre-COVID, have deliveries done to your office. So very, very interesting to see the way social media platforms and messaging platforms and communication platforms are actually a shop front. So as I've said, we have quite a large addressable audience within this internet space. Now, one may wonder, or one may want to understand what role then would, for example, a website play. Now, I'm not saying that companies do not use websites. In fact, quite a few companies, mostly the larger, let's say the large and the medium, and to some extent, some small businesses will also have websites, but you'll find them generally to reach their customers, pushing more of their messaging on social. In Kenya, it's interesting to note that we have 7.4 million micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's a lot of enterprises. And when you think of SMEs specifically, the small, medium enterprises contribute about 30% to GDP. So as you think about gaining entry into a market like Kenya and finding partners with whom you can, you can partner to distribute or provide your services or products, it's interesting to see that the SMEs would constitute a very big captive group of potential partners. Now, I'll just quickly go share my screen just to summarize a couple of the points I've made. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Now we can see. Wonderful.
All right. So as I, one second, as I just scroll down. So this is just a quick summary of what I have just talked about. I'm going to just minimize. There we go. So again, just a quick summary of what I've talked about so that you have some of the numbers in front of you. Population million actually using the internet, of which 8.8 are social media users. Now, the other interesting point is that in terms of active users searching using Google, you have 13 million. So even as you engage and communicate or try to publicize your products online, using Google search and obviously using Google AdWords becomes quite an important consideration and place and way to drive notoriety of your business or of your brands. This is just a summary of what I mentioned around the most used social and messaging platforms, just to give you a snapshot, with WhatsApp, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram really in the top 4 platforms. And then channels that are used. I've mentioned a little bit about the addressable advertising audience across the different channels, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even Snapchat to some extent, and LinkedIn. So you can see some of those numbers and the fact that, social channels will provide a shop front. Now, just another quick snapshot. It's very interesting to see that some of the primary sources of new brand discovery tend to be heavily digital. You do have above the line or traditional media such as advertising on television coming in second, where 56% of internet users say they discover new brands and products via television. But again, you can see the social platforms playing quite strongly. Retail websites, 53% say they discover through retail websites. And once again, you can see on mobile or tablet applications, 44%. Recommendations or comments on social media also at 44%, just under 44%. And then ads on websites as a source or way through which people discover new brands are at 43%. So it's very significant. We also see that from an e-commerce perspective, we've got 15 million Kenyans who are purchasing consumer goods online as at 2019. And the value of the market of online consumer goods in terms of purchases is indicated at being at $640 million. So again, an interesting space when you think about digital marketing and how you can use digital marketing, number one, to find partners or to let consumers and potential business partners know a little bit about your business and the potential to partner or the services that you provide. So I'll just summarize by giving a quick highlight on what we offer in terms of services as Digital Odyssey. We're a women-led and women-founded company, and we have a team of about 15 people. We offer services in research. Obviously, we use digital as our primary sort of tool or medium. So everything from research to understand the market or consumers or get insights and feedback on your products, we can help you with that. We do marketing, we do strategy. Ultimately, we drive, we say when we talk about, it's really anchored maybe. We use search and search engine actively. We're obviously also experienced on social media marketing, management, and community engagement. We provide services on email and customer relationship management. So leveraging email marketing to really engage your customers once you've built a database, and we can help with that. We work with influencers in, number one, identifying the kind of influencers, if you potentially want to work with influencers that can help you get more awareness of your brands, influencers that are strategically aligned and have a fit with your brand and your business. We can help you with website development. You may already have your websites, for example, in Estonian or in any other European language targeting maybe the existing markets. If you want to develop microsites to really engage with the local market here in a way that's relevant, we are able to help with that, with e-commerce, with mobile apps, and then of course with the usual branding and PR services. We use a range of media channels. We talk about earned, shared, paid media as part of our strategy to really drive notoriety. So whether it is owned media, your own blogs or websites, or maybe your emails or audio visuals, whether it's paid media like social or search and display, whether it's shared media like where you're leveraging maybe forums or groups and communication on those, or whether it's earned media where bloggers take up information on what you're publicizing and share that, or probably publications or experts speaking on your business and the services that you provide, or the game-changing maybe technologies that you provide in the green economy area to be able to make changes or social impact within the community. So broadly speaking, in a very quick nutshell, that is who we are as Digital Odyssey. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions or comments that you may have. And we are available and can be reached if you would like to contact us directly for any further information on how we can support you to gain entry into the local market, to get insights into how to gain entry into the local market. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Achieng, for your very inspiring and captivating presentation. And I see there is already one question. Maybe you can share with us, and maybe you have, I don't know if you have this detailed information, but a very specific professional target market, architects, builders, construction companies. Can you a little bit enlighten us what is their social media usage profile look like?
Yes, thank you for the question. So what we've seen is that even if they're businesses, a lot of the time the businesses are run by individuals, and these individuals will tend to have multiple social media profiles. So you will find, for example, an architect who runs an architect firm will have his business online as a website, possibly, and will also have company social media profiles. But he will also have his or her own individual profiles on Facebook, for example, for social activities, but also on LinkedIn, which tends to be more professional. So what we normally advocate for is that when you're targeting companies, so let's say you want to reach, let's say, architects, you can reach them by targeting from a B2B perspective, but also targeting B2C by profiling what service or what product you offer to people who are in the architecture industry, and really making that information available, or doing the reach in such a way that you're talking to them in social environments, because they have multiple channels and profiles, as well as talking to them from a B2B perspective, because they also have interest in understanding what's going on with the business. So they, profile-wise, I would say, and we've seen that on average, Kenyans, the Kenyan internet users on average will have about 6 to 8 social media profiles, for example. So it's important to be able to use multiple channels if you want to get reach and actually talk to them across the different environments in which they're interacting, where they're interacting professionally on web, for example, and where they're also interacting potentially professionally on LinkedIn, but also where they're interacting socially, like on Facebook, where you can showcase some of your products and actually engage with them when they're in a different mind space or mind frame. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. And currently I can't see any other questions. I of course encourage all to send the questions, and with your permission, we would like to share your slides also to the participants, so they can also find the details to get in that. And hopefully also I see, because I understand that most of the Estonians are today recuperating from the Midsummer Festival last week and a very extremely hot weather. So later this year in autumn, to have a continuation in some webinars focusing on digital marketing would be good benefit. But if you can stay with us, and thank you really very much. If you can stay with us, maybe there will be another question or two after the last presentation. So the final presentation, let me invite now Ms. Marge Pihlapuu, who is from Enterprise Estonia. And last but not least, because this is very important presentation, and invite all to pay attention very diligently and also propose questions if you have. But Marge will introduce us the Enterprise Estonia future perspective in Africa and the possibilities of having a collaboration. Marge, do you hear me?
Yes, I do. Do you hear me?
Yeah, and we can see you also loud and clear. So
good. Thank you, and good afternoon from our side. Thank you so much, Ada, for putting so interesting webinar together. Thank you for inviting me. I really believe that we have to team up here and act together. As Ada said, my name is Marge Pihlapuu from Enterprise Estonia. For guests, I'm saying that this is a trade development agency, a public organization. And my job is to help companies in foreign markets. I will make it today very short and clear. I have selected 3 key messages to talk through. I will share my screen first. So I hope it will appear very soon.
Yes, it appeared. Thank you.
So yes, the key messages I want to go through are, the first one is that we are now looking at Africa. We are building up our competencies. We just can't move my slides. Yes, I can now. So the first one is that we are building up our competence regarding African competence, African continent. At the moment, to be honest, we are making our first steps. We have made our first analysis, understanding what are the different regions, what are the different interests on behalf of our companies. We don't have any representative in Africa and for entire continent yet. We don't have any services specially designed for Africa, but we are dealing with that, and we hope to be there in long term. In 3 years course, we hope to have an expert advisor or 2 in Africa. The location has not been decided yet, but we are working on that. We are also gathering information, market information, making it available for our companies. So I encourage all the companies who are now acting in Africa, or we are thinking to go to Africa, just contact us so that we can understand your needs We can see what you are doing, what help you are needed. I can see from the audience that some entrepreneurs have been here already, or we know them. We know what they are doing and how we can help them. But I encourage all of the others, just come talk about your ideas and let's see how we can help you. Having said that we don't have much of the in-house competence yet, we already can help you in Africa. Starting from this week, from Wednesday, we will launch a new service so that you can use the expertise, the local African expertise available, and we can help you to cover the costs of the consultants or experts. This is actually not designed specially for Africa, but this is a global service and can be very well used also in Africa. So if you have a need for product development or entering to the market, you can find an expert, a local expert who helps you to guide you through the process. Also, if you want to register your trademark, or you need some kind of certificates, you don't know how to do that, you can hire an expert. Also, you can put your registration fees into this cost, and we help you to pay the cost, because we very well understand how big and heavy is the investments when you are entering into a far market. So this is the service we will open on Wednesday, July 1st. The expert can be used up to 1 year. We will cover 80% of the fee and up to 20,000 euros per one expert. If you don't have an expert, we are not offering, we don't have a list of experts available in Kenya or Eastern Africa. But again, come to talk to me, maybe to other. We have the honorary counselor. We have a network there. I have a very good contacts with our sister or similar organizations in Scandinavia, in Innovation Norway, Business Sweden, Business Finland. I know the expert advisors there. We can ask some help for you. So just if you are thinking about going to Eastern Africa, to Kenya, and you need some help, this is the service to use. So again, just you can go directly to the link I'm showing here, or you can just come and talk to me, and we can discuss what's the best way to proceed. Also, I'm mentioning here the other possibility we have opened at the moment is the product development grant. If you are thinking about the green growth, etc., and you have the product development ideas, you can use the grant. And we have changed the conditions due to the pandemic, so it should be easier for companies to apply for the grant. So this is also opened today. And the last one, which I wanted to go through, is sectorial or country promotion. So we all know that Estonia is so small country. We want to make ourselves bigger. We have good stories. We have the e-Estonia stories. We are known about technical innovations, etc., etc. So if you have something in your mind, bigger things, expos, conferences, etc., etc., so we can make Estonia bigger. This is again the reason to come and talk what's in your mind, how we could help. So as you can see, Africa is not, we don't have so many companies acting there. So we don't have ready-made programs. But if you are first one going, just we can make something for you, tailor-made. Let's take the first pioneers and go with them. And for the conclusion, I'm just giving my contacts. So I really encourage you to come to Enterprise Estonia, to come to EAS and tell about your plans, ideas. Let's discuss and we will develop together with you. So that's all from my side, and I'm waiting for questions also.
Thank you very much, Marge, for this very rich presentation, and also the very strong encouragement to our private sector to contact with you. And like I said, I'm also here available, and like I mentioned in the beginning, that our honorable consul also in Kenya is here and looking forward. And then let's hope that one of the locations what you are considering could be Kenya, but
it is. I can't confirm anything, but it's on the table yet.
That's good, because this is also why we are organizing this events here, to understand, and if there is a strong interest from the business sector. And what I see, and what I wanted to explain a little bit, that actually we already tried to get today colleagues from Finnish and Swedish embassies on the development and business diplomacy cooperation, but midsummer holidays started last week. So this is definitely one of the autumn webinar where we want to engage with you, but also colleagues from the Finnish and Swedish embassies here in Nairobi. And let me see if there are questions directly to you, because the presentation was very informative. And again, if I may ask your permission to share your presentation to the participants.
Yes, absolutely. Sure.
Thank you very much for this. So, dear participants, I encourage you to post the questions. And meanwhile, I saw that the question to Nema and to Catherine from European Investment Bank has been already answered. So, but maybe Catherine or Obadiah, if you want to react in addition what you wrote, then you are invited. But I can see that there is the comment from the Catherine Collin from the EIB market to you. That she trusts that you are aware of the European Business Council here in Kenya, which is open to all bilateral chambers of commerce.
We haven't been in contact yet, but thank you for this hint that I have to be contact them.
Yeah, I think it's important, because there is really a dynamic that has developed over the last couple of years to try and really, kind of federate all the European interests, European Union interests here in Kenya. The EU delegation, Martin Boulen, Ado, you certainly know him, and he was actually connected at the beginning. I think he would be, able to give you all the details on that. And so, I mean, I think it's important, if you are planning to establish yourself in Kenya, which I think is a good idea, then that could be a very important point for you as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, because it's important to cooperate with the EU structures we have there already. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. And as we have one more question. Yes, and I can respond that we can share the slides from the first webinar on the 9th of June. This to Catherine, comment the question to input.
Just did quickly respond, I think, on the ticket size. I mean, indeed, for corporate transaction, we would look at a minimum ticket size of, I would say, 20 million euro. Sometimes we can go lower, bearing in mind that this is 50% of the project cost. So we've looked at smaller transaction on an exceptional basis where there is a very high impact, or like, if it's focused on gender or some of these elements that are giving it an important impact compared to our policy objectives. When it comes to project finance transaction, like typical the Lake Turkana wind farm, we're now looking at road PPP here in Kenya. There, the ticket size is a bit higher. It's a minimum of 50 million, and it's essentially a matter of resources, because these projects are extremely complex, require a lot of resources and input from our side, and so we need to have a minimum of investment in there. And then there was a question on the list of impact funds in which we are invested. I have sent you again the link that can there, but I'm happy Ado specific list share with this if need. And you are also most welcome to share my email address. There's no problem about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you for sharing the information. We are definitely sharing all the details so everyone can get in contact with you directly, so we don't have to facilitate all the time. And this council interact with them. We should interact with them in autumn and having the one webinar where they can also introduce their actions in here. So Obadiah, would you like to comment or was your written input sufficient? Because you 19 and waste management related question.
Yeah, I have responded to I think that waste. We given our guideline on how to go around the stakeholders. So I think I have maybe addressed, and the website provided there has more information.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have last 4 minutes all from Estonia and from Nairobi. If you want to pose some questions, then now it's the time. And for your we'll also upload today's recording to the YouTube, and we'll share the link, also like the link to the presentation, so you can share and re-watch during the hot summer nights in Estonia. If I don't see any further questions, so let's conclude the event for all presentation from EIB, from NEMA, from Enterprise, and from the Minister of Environment. And like I said, we will definitely share this information, what you heard today, and did you see on the screens, but also be tuned that we will definitely continue the webinars in autumn. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to have you here, and enjoy the summer holidays, which have been already started in Estonia from last week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ado. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.